So this study is going to show the difference between new urbanism and using similar units, just modified, and the BayHome method of design. So this would be a standard new urban streetscape. The reality is you wouldn't have just a few cars parked in front. You would have a whole bunch of cars parked in front of this in the evening, as you can see soon on this inset here. So these units we got from a client. These are actual units that were being built in a new urban neighborhood, all lined up at the same setback, separated with 5-foot side yards and a fence in between. So we're going to come into the unit, and as we enter the unit, you can see there's a tiny little dining area here, and that looks like a bathroom. So you have these little windows that overlook this beautiful streetscape, and then you've got a kitchen in the back that looks right into the back of the garage and into this living area. So we exit the back, and you've got to be exposed outside for your groceries, and then you're building a lot of exterior walls. So you got exterior wall to the garage, and then also exterior wall for the unit. And then you've got the alley in the back. So typically the alley would have two more stalls parked behind the garage. So when you're looking at an alley, if it's garage to garage, you'd have about 60 to 70 foot for parked cars. And then you've got this minuscule little space in the back. And then we go again into this next unit. So you've got the kitchen. People are going to hang out in the kitchen, again looking at the back of the garage. The side windows look right into the neighbor's house or your fences. And then you're also isolated from that beautiful streetscape. And you don't see the streetscape unless you're in this, I guess it's a bedroom or a den, and there's two little windows. And again, the living area is disconnected from this huge porch area. And that's very, very typical of these new urban plans. And people tend to not use the porch unless that porch is connected to the living space. So very typical with these neighborhoods is they have the porches, these big things, areas that you're supposed to be sitting out on, but the floor plan doesn't push you to the porch. Again, we come in the unit, now you've got a corridor, so you don't feel space at all. This one has a kitchen that is more rear oriented. Again, the view of the back of the garage door. And then you come into a side door in this case, tiny little backyard, very little space that you've got that's usable. And again, the extra expense of detaching the garage, because I guess that's what you're supposed to do in these new urban neighborhoods. So now that we've kind of visited the new urban neighborhood, we're going to take the same acreage, that same 1 acre area, and we're going to zip over to the BayHome area. And in the BayHome area, what you'll see is we've got common areas replacing the very expensive public street. And that public street is going to be a sea of cars. The reality is you're going to be sitting on your front porch, and very short distance you're going to be looking at parked cars. And the parked cars that are going to be on the street aren't going to be the nice ones protected in the garage. So in this new area of BayHomes, you'll see that the alley is a 24-foot wide multifamily lane. It's not very pleasant looking, but no alley is pleasant looking. Let's just be frank about that. And we're using the side yard for parking and private patio space. And that side yard can fit a full-size motor home. So what we've done is taken that typical 60 to 70 foot garage to garage and reduced it to about 40 feet. Now these are zero lot line homes, meaning that one side of the home is going to be mostly a blank wall, and then when the side that we're parking on, that two stall deep parallel parking is that's going to have more windows that open up into the neighbor. So we're using that space that would normally be unutilized for parking, and then beyond that, and we're not showing it here, but these would have a patio, outdoors patio space. So we come into the side door, you can see the attached garage back here, and then we come to the kitchen. Now, this space this we're talking about the exact same units here and opening up that space. So before there was no connection whatsoever to that front, and now we've got this great panoramic view. We're tying the interior space to the out exterior space. So those windows, by the way, on that side, we would be taking those windows out. So we're talking about actually the same glazed area. And then we're going to walk out, and you see we're pushing the living space to that porch. So now we're not looking at a park street and cars. Some of these would, but the amount of space before you hit the street, because we're taking that 12 foot of worthless space between the back of the house and then that wall of the garage, and we're adding that to the green space in the front, and we're reducing that a typical 20-foot space down to about a 15-foot space. So we're picking up per home about another 30 feet of green space in front of every unit, even if there was a street there. So some of these won't have streets, they'll have common areas. Now we're coming into another home. Now remember, this home was all hallway. You came into a hallway corridor and you went through the home before you even felt the space. So we still have the kitchen as a focal point, panoramic view from the living area, going out into the little side yard, and this one we moved the bedroom to the back here next to the garage. We still have a little egress window in the back. The garage is behind us, and now we're going to go into this side yard that would be private patio space, your barbecue, things like that. We have a little bit of a wall for privacy there. And again, not only do we have a panoramic view, but when you take a look at these homes, the architecture wraps, so they no longer will feel like a narrower home, and they give the illusion that the home is much larger and wider than it is. So again, it's increasing the curb appeal, it's increasing the value, it's nearly doubling the feel of space when you get into the home. So when you walk into that front door, you immediately feel space. Before you didn't, you felt claustrophobic. And remember that little tiny dining room area that you could barely fit the dining room set in? That area is just massive now. And so there's a massive difference between new urbanism and BayHomes from a space distribution standpoint. And lastly, we could see by this chart, we're both talking about 1 acre area. We're talking about the same 8 units per acre. It's not quite apples to apples because public street construction is going to be a lot more expensive than private street. But when you can see the numbers, we still have a couple hundred square foot of pavement less per home. We have much less construction costs because the garage is attached. You don't have to walk outside in the elements, the rain, and up north the snow and the ice, and get slip and hurt yourself. It's a better situation, more functional, but it's a far more attractive alternative, and yet what we've done is we've used the same units and just converted new urbanism to BayHomes. So if you were a potential home buyer or renter, ask yourself, which one would you choose?